This is our learning agenda, so some things we'll cover tonight. We have just the basic what is dementia, signs and symptoms, risk factors, how physicians test and diagnose for this disease, benefits of early diagnosis, healthy aging, treatments, and some resources that we wanted to share with everybody. I'm going to let Christina start.
All right, so we're going to start off with basics. What is dementia? And dementia is a general term for loss of memory, language, problem solving, and other thinking abilities that are severe enough to interfere with daily life. Because we all forget things from time to time, but this is something that interferes every day that makes life a little bit more challenging. Alzheimer's is the most common cause of dementia, and that's why we hear about that a lot.
So can you have dementia without having Alzheimer's?
No, and we're going to get to that.
Oh.
Yep. Dementia also affects behavior, feelings, and relationships. And this is important because people just think of just memory loss, but it affects a lot more than that. And this you will hear throughout this presentation, and we will stress it, that dementia and memory loss is not a normal part of aging. It is a progressive brain disease, meaning it gets worse over time. But if you hear somebody say, "Oh, you know, they're getting old. They're just, you know, forgetting things." It's not normal. And we're going to go into what's normal and what's not. The word dementia is what they call an umbrella term. Okay? Dementia, and these are the types of dementia. It's like saying I have cancer. It's what type of cancer do you have? Where is it affecting you in your body? The word dementia is the same thing. Alzheimer's is the most common one. Then you have vascular, which is the blood flow in the brain. Lewy body, frontotemporal, and then other ones like Huntington's, there's Parkinson's, there's mixed dementia. But basically, dementia is an umbrella term for the loss of memory and other thinking abilities severe enough to interfere with daily life. So this is the umbrella term. So if you have Alzheimer's, to answer your question, you have dementia. It's just what type of dementia. Because they each have...
If I have dementia, I do not necessarily have to have Alzheimer's.
Right, exactly. You could have vascular, you could have Lewy body, you could have a mixed. It's depending on what's affecting the brain. So Alzheimer's disease, this is the most common one. It is the most common cause of dementia. It accounts for 60 to 80% of dementia cases. So that's why we hear about Alzheimer's so much. Again, Alzheimer's is not a normal part of aging. It worsens over time, and unfortunately, there is no cure as of yet. There are treatments, however, that can temporarily slow the worsening of the dementia and improve quality of life. So for Alzheimer's, there's two abnormal structures called plaques and tangles that are the prime subjects in damaging and killing nerve cells. So that's what differentiates Alzheimer's from things like vascular, which is the impairment of the blood flow. So we have a little video that talks about what is Alzheimer's disease that has some good information in it.
What is Alzheimer's disease? Alzheimer's disease is the most common cause of dementia and also the best understood. Alzheimer's disease is thought to be caused by the formation of abnormal deposits of protein in the brain. These are called plaques and tangles, and they are made up of two key proteins, amyloid and tau. Amyloid and tau are present in healthy brains, but in Alzheimer's disease they function abnormally. Amyloid forms plaques outside cells and tau forms tangles inside them. These plaques and tangles damage the nerve cells, causing them to die. When lots of cells die, this causes the brain to shrink. In Alzheimer's disease, the hippocampus is usually one of the first areas of the brain to be affected. The hippocampus has a vital role in forming memories. So someone in the early stages of Alzheimer's disease will often have trouble forming new memories. They may struggle to remember what they have just done or said, and may repeat themselves in conversation. More recent memories are usually lost first, while older memories can remain for much longer. Someone may remember things from their childhood better than they do things from earlier that day, for example. This is because older memories from childhood depend less on the hippocampus and more on other parts of the brain, which are not damaged as early in Alzheimer's disease. In Alzheimer's disease, the amygdala is often affected later than the hippocampus. The amygdala plays an important role in emotion, which explains why a person with Alzheimer's may recall feelings or emotions about an event or person, even if they cannot recall the facts of the situation. As more and more nerve cells die and more areas of the brain are affected, the symptoms of Alzheimer's become worse and more numerous. This is sometimes known as a gradual progression of symptoms. The brain of a person with Alzheimer's disease also has lower levels of a certain neurotransmitter, which allows messages to pass between nerve cells. Lower levels of this chemical may cause the remaining cells to communicate with each other less effectively, leading to greater problems with memory and thinking. The main drug treatments for Alzheimer's disease aim to increase levels of this neurotransmitter in the remaining nerve cells, helping to preserve brain function for a while. As Alzheimer's disease progresses, it becomes much harder to remember things. People with the condition can be helped to find new ways to cope with memory loss. There are many simple memory strategies to do this. For example, to remember a PIN number, it may help to imagine the numbers making a shape on the keypad. There are also various memory aids that can help, from simple things such as calendars or sticky notes, to more high-tech solutions, such as electronic medication reminders. As Alzheimer's progresses, a person may have less control over their emotions and their ability to express them. It is important to understand this and try to see past how the person is behaving and work out how they are feeling. For example, a person with Alzheimer's disease may follow their carer around because they are in need of reassurance.
Does anyone have any questions right now? Anything can answer before we move on? Okay. All right. So let's talk about some of the signs and symptoms that we might see in a loved one or family member. And we'll start at the top here. So difficulty doing familiar tasks. What this would look like. For example, brushing our teeth. It seems pretty simple. We wake up, brush our teeth every morning, every night, etc. But for someone who starts to develop dementia, and as it progresses, think about how many steps there is to that. You turn on the water, you have to wet the toothbrush, you put the toothpaste on there, you brush your teeth, etc. Those steps are hard to remember all of them. So someone presenting with dementia, that would be a symptom you could start to see in them. So familiar tasks like that. The next one here is problems communicating. You might trying to have a conversation about a familiar topic with your loved one or friend, and they're not able to have that continuation of conversation. They're kind of maybe not fully answering your question, or just giving you a blank stare. So that would be an example of that. The next thing they have here is misplacing things, and they have a picture of keys. And I bet everyone in this room has lost keys before. But what makes this symptom, or how it would present in a person suffering from dementia, is they would not be able to retrace their steps. Let's say we misplaced our keys, we look in the kitchen, we ruled that out. Okay, move to the next room, and we can go on and so forth, hopefully finding our keys. But someone suffering from dementia maybe just keeps going to the kitchen where they leave their keys and it's not there, and now they're getting upset and frustrated. So you might see something like that. The next thing we have on here is forgetfulness that affects day-to-day function. So this could be as simple as we just finished up breakfast and your loved one or friend can't remember what was just consumed or something like that. So an example of just can't remember anything short term. You know, they can't remember the ice cream they just had with you, etc. Next, we have difficulty planning or solving problems. And the example I like to give here is not being able to maintain a budget anymore. Okay, it's not just one missed bill, here and there occasionally. This is, if you're on a fixed income, you can't pay your bills month to month, etc. Another thing you would see would be withdrawal from work or social activities. So as the person suffering with dementia, as the disease starts to progress, they might become, maybe they're aware of some of their forgetfulness and confusion, and they're hesitant to show those symptoms to friends and loved ones, so that causes them to isolate in the house. Or maybe they're at a point where they're confused and they don't remember the steps to get out of the house to see their friends. We have confusion of time and place. And this can present in a couple different ways. You might have the person suffering from dementia forget what season it is. So it's summer and they're dressing for winter, or etc. This may also present in sundowning. So now nighttime is approaching and your loved one seems to be more awake, more confused, and more active at nighttime and maybe more sleepy during the day. The next one here would be changes in personality. So your loved one, you might see them acting more paranoid, like, oh, you touched my belongings, where did you put them? Maybe they're accusing you of something that you had not done. Or they could be presenting fearfully, that you're apprehensive to go in the car with you because they're not sure what that situation is. It's just making them uncomfortable. Those reactions would be more out of confusion to what's going on around them than let alone if the person themselves. Changes in mood and behavior, that would kind of be the same as the one I just kind of shared with you. I think we talked about your example you had. Oh, I'm going to let you share this example.
So to back up, for changes in personality, the example that comes to mind for me is a client I once had she was a nun for her life and for many, many years. And unfortunately, when she had dementia, she changed a bit. The family was very distressed because she all of a sudden could swear like a sailor. And the family didn't understand where this was all coming from, that sort of thing. But we see that a lot in people with dementia, is that their personalities may change. You might actually have a husband who is very loving and then turns aggressive. And like Ashley said, with the mood, it's more of the paranoia. They just get paranoid about things, or you stole my wallet. It kind of goes with the confusion.
Awesome. And the last one here listed is poor or decreased judgment. And an example that comes to my mind is my grandma suffers from dementia as well. And one day she took a cereal box, put it all in the sink, clogged the sink, and turned the water on. So trying to make cereal, but it didn't end up that way. So just small little examples like that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they can present at different times. You might see a couple presenting at the same time, a couple symptoms. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I would say like misplacing things. Misplacing things might come first. Whereas the changes in personality might be later stages, as things progress. Okay.
You can have one or many of them at the same time.
Oh, yep. Everybody is different. It's all about how the brain is reacting to the disease. All right, so This is something that we both get a lot. What's normal and what's dementia, you know? So we'll just go through these. So typically age-related changes is forgetting which day it is and remembering it later. I know I've woken up thinking, oh, today's Saturday, just to be sad, and it's Monday. But it takes just a moment. You do remember eventually what day it is. For somebody with dementia, losing track of the date or the season is something they won't remember. And they'll forget that it's summer and they'll think it's winter or vice versa. Another typical age-related change, missing a monthly payment. That could be any age. And we've all done that. That's you know, we're like, oh, I didn't pay for that. But somebody with dementia, managing a budget is really challenging. The multiple steps, keeping everything on track, that's really challenging for them. Another thing is sometimes forgetting which word to use. Again, we've all done that. I do that. If you get nervous, you're in a situation, you're trying to use big words and sound smart like I'm trying to do today, you might forget a word, right? But somebody with dementia has difficulty following a conversation, remembering all the pieces of the conversation, remembering, you know, oh, their friend said, oh, my pet, you know, and says the pet's name. They're not going to remember that pet's name. It's very hard for them to follow a conversation. Again, like Ashley said, losing things from time to time. We've all done that. We've all lost our keys or whatever. But somebody with dementia, they can't retrace their steps. They can't, okay, where was I when I had this? Or, and eventually, hopefully find them. But that's really difficult for them because that short-term memory is not there to aid them in that. Not being able to remember the name of an acquaintance. We've all done that. I'm horrible with names. I will fully admit I'm a social worker. It's horrible. It's something I try to work on. But somebody with dementia, they'll start to lose the names of grandkids or of even their own children or their spouse. This one's an interesting one. You are worried about your memory, but your relatives are not. So I've had many people come up to me, and I'm sure Ashley has too, you know, I think I have dementia. If people have dementia, maybe at the very, very early stages, they might know that something's not quite right. But normally, it's your relatives are worried about your memory, but you are not aware of any problems. That's more the typical thing. The last one is making bad decisions once in a while. We've all done that. But somebody with dementia, poor judgment and decision making. Going outside in the middle of winter with no jacket on. Pouring the cereal in the sink. The judgment is not there. And this one, even like cooking or driving, becomes very challenging because they'll leave the stove on or things like that. Okay, so risk factors. What are the risk factors for getting dementia? So age, the greatest known risk factor is increasing age. It's very rare to get early onset dementia. But these disorders, again, not a normal part of aging. Family history. If there's a family history of dementia, brothers, sisters, parents, grandparents, you're more likely it is hereditary. All right, scientists know that there are genes involved in dementia. So if you do have that, you'll want to talk to your primary physician. So those are risk factors we can't do anything about, but these are ones we can influence to help us protect ourselves. Head injury. There's a link between head injury and future risk of dementia. So wear helmets, you know, try not to.
Like the football players.
Football, yep. Football players have a high risk of dementia, yep. There's a heart-head connection. Some of the strongest evidence links brain health to heart health. So the risk of developing dementia appears to be increased by many conditions that damage the heart and blood vessels. These include heart disease, diabetes, stroke, high blood pressure, and high cholesterol. And that's a lot to do with vascular dementia. So these are the ones that you can try to influence.
All right, let's move on to testing and diagnosing. So these are some of the things that a physician might recommend or ask you to get done. The first thing would be just a general visit with the doctor. So they'll ask the person and a family member or friend, whoever had accompanied the loved one, about their overall health, their use of prescription and over-the-counter medications, their diet, past medical problems, and their ability to carry out daily activities, and changes in behavior and personality. So they're just gathering what the day-to-day looks like for the person they suspect has some type of dementia. Next, I'll pass this one back to Christina again.
So the next set that they would be looking for, and just to keep this in mind, they're doing all of this because there's not one test for dementia. So they have to gather all of this information to kind of make a comprehensive assessment. So you may go see, or your loved one go see a neurologist, and they may perform a mini mental state exam. And the doctor might have already done this, your primary sometimes does this. They'll ask questions like, what's the year, who's the president, what's your name, what's your address, kind of to see how functioning is going. They also use mini cog tests. One of the common ones is to say 3 words to you and then talk to you for about 10 minutes and then ask you to repeat those 3 words. Just to see, and that's just primarily to see how your short-term memory is working, or your loved one's short-term memory is working. This one is an interesting test, is to draw a face of a clock showing all 12 numbers in the correct places in the time specified by the examiner. And somebody with dementia might put all the numbers to one side or the other, might not get the time right. The numbers might be all at the top. It's a really fascinating test to see where in the brain the damage is taking place.
Next, the physician or provider might administer tests to determine if depression or another mental or medical health condition is causing or contributing to that person's symptom. So they got to rule out, like Christina said, it's a comprehensive assessment. So they rule out the things that they can with blood tests and such to make that focused diagnosis. So some of the tests they might order are blood tests, urine, and other standard medical tests, like we talked about. They might also collect a cerebrospinal fluid via spinal tap to get blood tests to measure levels of proteins, and this would be more associated with an Alzheimer's diagnosis than the other ones. And then lastly, they might perform brain scans, and that would be a CAT scan, an MRI, a PET scan, and that would, again, to either support a dementia diagnosis or rule it out if they see something else. Okay. Questions? Okay. All right, so let's talk about some benefits of early diagnosing. So there are a few on this. With dementia, it's going to affect each individual differently, but again, it's a progression of these symptoms, so it will get worse. So for planning is very important. So the first one here is opportunity to participate in clinical trials or other research studies testing new treatments. So if your family member or loved one is interested in that, the sooner they can get into those clinical trials, the better. Medications are available to treat some of the symptoms that come out and slow the progression of the disease. Learn coping strategies to manage the behavioral issues that may come up. Again, plan for the future. This is a big one. Take care of financial and legal matters because sometimes those can be lengthy to iron out. Address potential safety issues, driving. Is it safe to drive still? Who's cooking for this person? Do they need meals heated up for them, etc.? Learn about living arrangements. again, planning for the future and the person's needs, and develop support networks. This is it's a long journey. There's ups and there's downs, so it's important to establish your support people to go through with you on this journey. And then lastly, family education and understanding of how they can help. Together in numbers is always stronger, so the more people on board and understand what's going on and are willing to help, the better. So treatment, I'll talk a little bit about that. We touched upon it earlier. Unfortunately, there is no cure. But there are medications approved by the FDA that do slow down the disease progression and can treat symptoms of the disease. So whether that's behavioral, cognitive, and we'll go through that in the next slide. On the left here, we have treating the modifiable risks that we talked about earlier. So treating the high blood pressure, treating your diabetes, your cholesterol, and any cardiac issues that might be going on. So taking the best care of yourself so you can hopefully give yourself more protection for the future. This is a little treatment overview about what options are out there now. Again, I am a nurse. This is a licensed social work over here. We are not physicians, we're not pharmacists. I'm only putting out there information that is already out there, and I'm giving it to you guys to take to your provider to start that conversation with your doctor. But we'll go through this here, and yes, please talk to your doctor if any questions or if you think this medication might be right for your loved one. But over here on the top left, we have these are medications that would change the disease progression, and this is more for Alzheimer's disease. Then you have medications in the bottom left that can treat non-cognitive symptoms, so that's your behavioral symptoms. And then on the right here is treatments for memory and thinking. So again, please take this to your provider, and again, it could be a great conversation starter for options that may be out there for the loved one or family member. Okay, lastly, we have healthy aging.
Okay, so this is, we all know this, how to be healthy, right? But we have to put this slide in. This is the not so fun stuff, right? So eating well, a low-fat diet, high on fruits and veggies, limit intake of red meats, fried and processed foods, salt and sugar. All these things, just to let you know, yeah, great for your body, but remember that your brain is part of your body, so it's good for your brain too. Stay active. Physical activity increases blood flow to the brain and can also help improve mood and overall well-being. Brisk walking benefits brain health, while aerobics can boost your heart rate, and weight training builds strength and flexibility. Again, good for your body, but it's also good for your brain, which some people don't think about.
Next, we have learn new things. So challenge your brain by starting a new hobby. Even something as simple as brushing your teeth with your non-dominant hand, which I recently tried, and it is very difficult. It's weird. I recommend everyone trying tonight. Of course, getting enough sleep, getting a consistent sleep every night is key. Insomnia can have a huge range of negative effects on the body and mind.
Okay, mind your medications. Know what you're taking. I can't tell you how many seniors I've talked with that have a list of medications. They don't know what they're for, and they don't talk to their doctor about it. Some of the medications could be changed, could be dropped, what have you. Just have that conversation. Medications can affect everyone differently, especially as you age. When getting a new medication or something you haven't taken in a while, talk to your doctor or local pharmacist, okay? Like I said, no fun. Stop smoking and limit alcohol. Smoking can increase the risk of other serious illnesses, and too much alcohol can impair judgment and cause accidents, including falls. And why are falls important? If you hit your head, okay?
And then we have stay connected. So social interaction and maintaining an active social life are very important for brain health, cognitive stimulation, and mood. So they recommend inviting family and friends over for some games or just to hang. But I'm going to give a little plug out to the Senior Center. It's a great place to stay connected with community members. Sorry, mine again. So the next one is know your blood pressure. So another treatable or at least modifiable risk factor. So make sure you know your blood pressure and it's in a healthy range.
And she does free blood pressure clinics here. See your doctor. Maintain checkups. You know, health screenings are key to managing chronic illnesses such as diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and obesity, all of which can impact brain health. Again, it does go back to brain health. This is something interesting. You can actually go for a memory screening on this website. It's the Alzheimer's website. And our brains need regular checkups just like other parts of our bodies. You could do a free memory screening, and it's quick. I have not done it yet, but it's interesting. So resources, this is for you to take home. There's plenty of resources. The one I would like to point out is the Alzheimer's Association. They have a 24/7 hotline. And the hotline could be for any questions, anything that you need pertaining to Alzheimer's. It's 1-800-272-3900. But you can call as much as you want. Like I said, 24/7. Could be just for basic questions or medication questions or anything like that. It's a free service and it's confidential. And they also have a great website that has a lot of information. Okay? And then all these resources. Oh, and so this is our information. If you have any questions, please call us. We're always here at town. She's at Town Hall. I'm at the Senior Center. Business cards are over there. I also brought some information on the Senior Center and the mental health services that we provide, some brochures from the Alzheimer's Association. And one thing I want to point out is from Tewksbury itself. They have a form to fill out for the police department if you have a loved one that needs extra help, like let's say an event of a fire, or if they wander from the home, they can, the police can know about it ahead of time. Okay?
Well, thank you guys for your time.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, appreciate it.